Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 8 of our English 3010 online course. Whew, we are done with Project 2. I hope that feels as good for you as it does for me. I am so proud of you guys. I know that this weekend there were a few technical snafus, but I am so proud of you guys for pushing through and for getting everything turned in for that multimodal presentation of your research in progress. Now, today, it's the fun day where we get to spend time getting situated and talking about our next project, Project 3. This is really where all of that gathering and that researching and reading, synthesizing, note taking, it's all starting to gel and come together around this writing project, which is going to be an academic literature review. So in this week's video, I'm going to take pretty much all the time to walk you guys through the assignment description and point out a few key things that are coming up for us in the coming weeks as we work on this literature review project. So let's get to it. All right. So here we are in our Canvas site, and I just want to quickly start by giving us an overview of how the project is going to go. This week, week 8, we're just getting started. And one of the things you'll notice is that there aren't actually any pieces of writing due this week. This week is kind of a bye week, a breather, if you will, between Project 2 and Project 3. And then, of course, in a couple of weeks, we'll be going on spring break. So we're kind of taking a few pauses, which hopefully will re-energize us and get us ready to push through at the end of the semester. So this week, we're just getting started. One of the things you'll notice is that I have put on here some optional conferences with me. You can have a conference with me this week. There's a couple of available times this week, or next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm available for conferences. And again, that's not required at all. But if you'd like to talk about how your research is going and how you think your Project 3 might be shaping up, this is a great opportunity to do that. So I've kind of tried to clear the decks a little bit in terms of our assignments and my grading loads so that I could have more time to talk with you guys if you want. Again, it's not mandatory, so you don't lose any points for not having a conference. But if you would like to, just shoot me an email and we will set up a time. So that's on the docket. The next big thing is that not this week, but at the end of next week, you want to have a rough draft of your literature review. So this week we're getting situated. The mini lesson video for this week is all about how to think about your literature review, construct it, organize it. And you should start drafting probably this week so that you can finish it up next week. Now, as we all know, week 10, spring break. So hopefully that's super amazing and refreshing for everyone, even if you don't go anywhere, which, I mean, let's face it, how many of us will go anywhere? As long as everyone's healthy and can get some good rest in, that's the most important thing. When we come back, week 11, this is the week we're going to have peer review on our literature review essays. So any feedback that you get from me, you can use to revise for peer review. And then when you guys do peer review and give each other feedback, you'll be able to revise even more. So we're going to get several iterations of revision on this project before we get through to the very end. We're going to be doing like some discussion. We're going to pause to sort of plan our participation in the writing showcase. And then the final draft of your literature review essay is going to be due week 13. So we have several weeks to be working on and sharpening and polishing this essay. So let's look at this essay. Project 3 is a literature review assignment one of the things you'll notice in this week's mini lesson is that when we're discussing the genre of a literature review, it can be a standalone essay, as it is here as I'm assigning it to you. But usually when it's deployed within a particular discourse community, it will be part of a larger project. So when you guys go to graduate school, when you guys start working on studies and projects that you want to write up for yourselves in your careers within your discourse communities, you'll write a literature review that becomes part of a larger piece. Not today, though. Today, I'm just going to have you write a standalone literature review. Now, here's one key thing before we get into the nuts and bolts of the assignment. A literature review always makes an argument. Now, that's not something that we often think about. A lot of times, I think the assumption is that a literature review is just a summary of all of the articles that we've read. And it's not less than that, but it is much more than that. Yes, you are going to need to be able to fluidly summarize and make connections and synthesize the articles that you've been reading that you're going to use in this literature review. Absolutely. However, you need to do all of that for a purpose. And the purpose is demonstrating how your work fits into that conversation. So it's kind of like if you were talking with a couple of friends, say you wanted to talk about your favorite shows that you are watching on Netflix. And so you're talking to your friends and you've got friend A and friend B and you're chatting and maybe even kind of getting into a bit of a discussion about, no, The Last Kingdom is absolutely the best show on Netflix. No, it's The Good Place. Well, can you compare a comedy and a drama? I don't know. And maybe that's kind of the discussion that you're having yourself and friend A and friend B. And then friend C comes along. Now, you want to include your friend in this conversation and you want to establish your position. So maybe what you say is, hey, friend C. All right, so here's what's going on. I'm talking with A and B here about the best shows to binge on Netflix, and A says it's The Good Place, and B says it's Last Kingdom, but clearly it is The Umbrella Academy because it has a little bit of both. Now, here's what I did there that is the same as what you're going to do in a literature review. You summarize and synthesize the arguments that are already occurring while establishing where your argument fits in, right? A says The Good Place is the best show to binge, while B argues that it's The Last Kingdom. I argue it's The Umbrella Academy because it has elements of drama and comedy. Do you see what's going on there? That is the move that you as a scholar want to make in a literature review. It's not less than summarizing A and B and any other sources and what they're arguing, but it's more than that because what you're doing is you're setting the stage for your argument to be heard and persuasive. Does that make sense? Let's look at this assignment here. We know that literature reviews are very ubiquitous. In almost every academic discipline, you will be writing literature reviews. So the main purpose is that readers can understand how your project, your argument, your claim, what you want to say, how it functions within this discourse community. So synthesize information, we're going to compare and contrast ideas, all so that we set the stage, as it were, to show how what you want to say fits in to the conversation that's already ongoing. So when we get into this assignment, one of the things we want to demonstrate is that you can both make your argument really clear and show how it fits within the work that's ongoing. We're going to follow standard genre conventions, which we've already kind of talked about. And as you've been reading pieces, I'm sure you've noticed how other authors go about citing things. Your literature review is going to be beautiful and it's going to be organized. And this is not, I'm gesturing with my hand like you can see where I'm pointing. Anyway, what I have here on the screen is not necessarily required. I don't want you to feel like this is a straitjacket confining you in your organization, but it's just a general suggestion for how a literature review is often organized. Your literature review might look slightly different depending on which counter arguments you want to include, how you want to set up your connections between various sources. But you, at the beginning, want to have an introductory section. Notice I did not say an introductory paragraph, because when we get into this sort of higher order academic genre, you need more space than that. So your introduction is actually going to be like 1 to 2 pages. And in it, you're going to spend a couple paragraphs giving some background information. And then you're going to have like a so what paragraph. And then 1 or so paragraphs sort of describing why you are looking at this topic. What is it that you are going to contribute to this area of research? Then you'll get into what other people say. So you're always framing what everyone else is saying within the field in the context of, here's what I'm going to say. So the body, that's where the majority of your text is going to go. This is where a lot of your work synthesizing sources and setting them in conversation with one another is going to go. You're definitely going to have some signposting paragraphs. A signposting paragraph is basically where you're going to be giving like almost an outline in paragraph form. Then you're going to develop your paragraphs and think through, how do you want to demonstrate the flow of the conversation to your readers? And then you'll conclude, again, with 1 to 2 pages. So this is where you're going to summarize the main themes and then offer one final assertive paragraph where you say, here's why it matters. Here's why what I said matters. Here's more research that we need to do. This is where you're really presenting that persuasive moment. And then the fourth bit, this is like not part of your paper, but this is like the reflection that comes after. This is where you want to think back about the drafting process, how it went, your writing of this academic genre. And there you have it. All together, it'll be a 10 to 15 page double-spaced lit review paper. You're going to have your bibliography of sources, but this does not count in your overall page count. This is separate. I'm asking for a minimum of 8 scholarly sources, and it can be more than that. I mean, we've been reading and collecting sources throughout this semester, and so you'll likely have more than 8 sources. Maybe you won't have more than 8 really good sources. You know, like along the way, sometimes you realize like, that one's not so good. That one doesn't fit as well within this conversation, and that's fine. But 8 minimum scholarly sources. Definitely use consistent citation according to your discourse community's requirements, and then your 1-page single-spaced reflection comes at the end. Okay, so you can look at the learning outcomes here for this project and the rubric to look at the things that I'm going to look at when I grade these. So let me jump back out and then we'll get situated in terms of this week. Where are we going this week to help us prepare for this project? So this week, you want to watch this week's instructor video, which you're already doing, to get an overview of the assignment and where we're headed. This mini lesson is a really great explanation of the purpose and organizational tips and tricks for writing literature reviews. So I highly recommend that. In terms of reading, there's really it's just sort of continuing reviewing and reading your sources, any feedback from me in Canvas. If you would like to schedule a conference with me this week, you can go ahead and shoot me an email. If you're still working on your professional interview, please continue work on that. But all in all, this is kind of a light week intentionally to kind of give you space to think about what you want your claim to be. What is it that you're going to be arguing about within this body of literature that you've been reading? What's your point? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you've read all these other writers who are making their own points, and now what are you going to say? Now, in order to help with this, I thought that I would show you guys the English 3010 research guide. You can access this on the Wayne Library website. Under research guides, you can go to English 3010 Intermediate Writing. This guide is really useful. Veronica Bilot, our library liaison, she's amazing, and she's just put so many resources into this page. So there's like library resources over here, session handouts. None of these are anything that I'm officially assigning to you, but working through any of these PDFs could be really helpful if you feel like you want a refresher on types of sources, or even just like how to go about the projects. There's all kinds of videos in here, little frequently asked questions section, which could be useful. Definitely some ideas for different sources. But right here, there's another resource for walking through the literature review. So this is going to walk you through the steps in a text-based format, whereas the mini lesson video from this week is a video presentation. So depending on your learning style and how you prefer to go through information, you could choose either or maybe do both. But there's lots of great resources here and lots of sample sources for you to look at within different discourse communities. So take a look at that, especially if you're in the camp where in the course of doing your Cornell notes, in the course of doing your synthesis tree, and then like creating your presentation this weekend, you maybe realized like, oh yeah, I want to know more actually about this side of things. Or yeah, those two articles, I don't think I would want to use anyway. No problem. This is why we call it research, because you search and then you search and then you search again and you research, right? You're just always continually reading and thinking about ways to situate your argument most effectively. Okay, so I'm going to pop out to the full view and then we will conclude this video. All right. So once again, please contact me if you are thinking about a conference, if you'd like to talk about your research in progress. Otherwise, Avantika and Mubasher are here for you, your peer mentors. They have their chat and they have their Zoom office hour meetings throughout the week and next week. So make sure to utilize those resources as well. They are here to support you. And so am I. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye, everybody.